The wind had teeth that night. It came sweeping across the flat New Jersey tarmac, bitter and sharp, rattling the chain, link fences and whispering against the hangars like restless ghosts. Sergeant Jonathan Mills tugged his pocket tighter and adjusted his cap. His breath plumed white in the beam of his flashlight as he made his final patrol down the perimeter road. Midnight shifts were always quiet at McGuire Air Force Base, quiet enough for the imagination to turn shadows into movement, distant hums into engines, and silence into something alive. He glanced at his wristwatch, 02:14 hours, 2 more hours until shift change. His partner, Airman Lopez, was stationed near the main gate that night, leaving Mills alone to cover the southern end of the runway, the section bordered by the pine barrens. He didn't mind. The solitude helped him think. His radio crackled faintly on his belt. Echo 2-1, status check. Came the voice of the dispatcher, flat and tired. 2-1, all clear, Mills replied, voice muffled by his scarf. He was about to clip the radio back when a faint flicker caught his eye. A blue pulse, low over the tree line beyond the fence. For a heartbeat, he thought it was lightning, but the sky was clear, the stars sharp and cold. The light pulsed again, rhythmic this time, almost like a heartbeat. Mills frowned and squinted toward the trees. The light was moving. He reached into his patrol car and pulled out his binoculars. Through the lenses, the glow sharpened. An orb, maybe 30 feet across, hovering just above the pines. It drifted silently, its surface rippling with shades of blue and white, like the surface of water, lit from within. "What the hell?" Mills whispered. The radio crackled again, startling him. Echo 2-1, report. He hesitated. Saying it aloud made it real. Dispatch, I've got visual contact with something over the south perimeter. Looks like unknown aerial object. Static hissed. Say again, 2-1. Unidentified object, low altitude, no engine noise, blue light. There was a pause, then the dispatcher's tone shifted, sharper. Copy 2-1. Remain in position, do not engage. Command wants eyes on it until backup arrives. Roger that. He watched as the orb descended lower, brushing the tops of the pines. For a moment it hovered completely still. Then, in an instant, it shot upward, faster than any aircraft he'd ever seen. The binoculars slipped slightly in his grip as he tried to follow it, but it was gone, vanished into the dark sky. "Son of a..." Mills exhaled, scanning the horizon. Then, a flash, a streak of white fire cutting across the tree line and crashing somewhere beyond the fence, deep in the woods. The ground shuddered faintly beneath his boots. Dispatch, object just made contact with ground. South sector, maybe 100 yards past the fence line. He reported, adrenaline spiking. Copy. Do not approach until... The transmission cut off, replaced by static. Mills tapped the radio. Dispatch, come again, you're breaking up. Nothing, just static. He cursed under his breath, grabbed his flashlight and sidearm and started toward the fence. The night was unnaturally still now. Even the wind had died. The only sound was the crunch of gravel beneath his boots and the distant hum of power lines. He reached the chain link fence and shined his light through. The beam flickered over tree trunks, frozen branches, and then landed on a patch of crushed underbrush where something had torn through. A faint blue glow shimmered just beyond, deeper in the forest. Mills climbed the fence. His gloved hands stung from the cold as the metal bit into his palms. He dropped to the other side and began moving toward the light. As he entered the tree line, the air felt thick, charged like the aftermath of a thunderstorm. His skin prickled. The flashlight beam wavered as the trees closed around him. He could still see the glow ahead, faint but steady. He called out instinctively, "Hello, anyone out there?" No answer, just the low hum that seemed to vibrate in his bones. He pushed through a final tangle of branches and froze. In a small clearing ahead, a shallow crater smoked faintly. At its center lay something metallic, no organic, a shape too fluid to be either. It pulsed faintly with light, colors shifting across its surface like oil on water. Around it, the ground steamed, frost melting into puddles. Mills took a cautious step forward, the beam of his flashlight cutting across the clearing. The object was maybe 6 feet long, half buried in the soil. Its surface rippled once, almost as if it breathed. His heart pounded. "Dispatch, this is Echo 2-1. I have visual on the crash site. Unknown object, possibly biological. Requesting immediate." Static again. The radio emitted a sharp whine and went dead. He stared at it, then back at the glowing shape, and then it moved. The top surface seemed to peel open, folding back like petals. A rush of cold vapor spilled out, curling around his boots. Mills stumbled backward, flashlight trembling in his hand. From within the object, a shape began to rise. Small, human-like, but wrong. Its limbs were thin, elongated, and its skin reflected the same faint blue sheen as the craft. The thing took one staggering step out of the crater, then another. It stood upright, about 4 feet tall, its head too large, eyes like smooth black glass. Mills' training kicked in. He drew his pistol. "Freeze!" he shouted, voice cracking slightly. "Don't move." The creature tilted its head as though studying him. Its mouth, or what he thought was its mouth, opened slightly, and a sound came out. A high, metallic chirr that made his teeth ache. "I said don't move," he repeated, louder this time. The thing took a step forward. Mills fired once into the ground beside it, the crack echoing through the trees. The creature flinched, but not in fear. It seemed confused, then it collapsed. It hit the ground hard, limbs twitching, a thin trail of dark fluid seeping into the dirt. The glow around it dimmed, flickering weakly. Mills stood frozen, the gun shaking in his hand. His breathing came in short, ragged bursts. The thing on the ground let out a low whimper, a sound so human it made his stomach turn. He approached slowly, keeping the weapon trained on it. The glow faded completely now, leaving only the pale gray of its skin. Its eyes, glossy and black, stared up at him unblinking. And then, with a faint hiss of air, it went still. For a long moment he couldn't move. The forest was utterly silent. Then he forced himself to kneel, examining it. The body was light, almost weightless, its surface cool but not cold. The skin looked smooth like plastic, but when he touched it with his gloved hand, he felt texture beneath. Like something alive. He looked back toward the crater. The object, the craft, whatever it was beginning to dissolve, its surface collapsing inward like melting ice. Within seconds, it was gone, leaving only a faint metallic residue on the dirt. "Jesus Christ!" Mills muttered, backing away. His radio crackled suddenly, startling him so badly he nearly dropped it. "Echo 2-1, come in. Mills, do you copy?" He snatched it up. "Yes, I copy. Dispatch. I've got a downed entity here. Something non-human. I think it's dead. I need backup now." A pause. "Then repeat 2-1, did you say entity?" "Affirmative. It's not human. Repeat, not human." There was another long pause, filled only by static and the faint hum of his own breathing. Then the dispatcher's tone changed. Lower, deliberate. "Copy that 2-1. Stay exactly where you are. Do not approach further. Response team is en route." "How long?" 5 minutes. Mills exhaled shakily, holstering his pistol. He took a few steps back and leaned against a tree, eyes locked on the body. The glow was gone now. It looked dull, lifeless, but the air still buzzed faintly, as though charged with invisible current. 5 minutes felt like an eternity. He tried to focus on his training, secure the scene, await command. But the longer he stared at the creature, the more he felt a strange pull in the back of his mind, like a whisper at the edge of thought. Images flickered, clouds, stars, lights he didn't recognize. His pulse quickened. He shook his head hard, trying to clear it. "Snap out of it, Mills," he muttered. The whisper faded, but the unease stayed. He heard engines, then vehicles approaching fast from the base. Relief washed through him as headlights cut through the trees. A convoy of dark trucks pulled up along the fence line. Men in unmarked gray uniforms spilled out, moving quickly and efficiently. They carried large black cases and portable floodlights. Mills raised a hand to signal them. Over here, two of the men approached, faces shadowed beneath helmets and night vision goggles. The taller one held up a small device that clicked rapidly as he neared the body. "What's that?" Mills asked. The man didn't answer. He simply turned to his partner and muttered something under his breath. Mills stepped closer. "I said, what's that? Who are you guys?" The shorter man turned toward him, voice clipped. "You're Sergeant Mills, correct?" "Yeah." "Thank you for containing the scene. You can stand down now. Command will debrief you inside the perimeter." "Hold on," Mills said, frowning. "I need to know what that thing is and who authorized." The taller man cut him off. "That information is classified, Sergeant. You did your job. We'll take it from here." Mills hesitated. He looked at the creature again. One of the gray-suited men had knelt beside it, slipping it into a thick black containment bag. The skin seemed to react faintly to the touch, as though resisting. "Wait a second," Mills began, stepping forward. "You're bagging it already. Shouldn't someone—" The shorter man stepped in front of him, voice low and firm. "Sergeant, step back." Mills opened his mouth to argue, but something in the man's tone made him stop. Behind them, floodlights blazed to life, turning the forest clearing into harsh white daylight. The men worked in silence, methodically sweeping the area with scanning devices and collecting soil samples. Within minutes, there was no sign of the crater, the residue, or the creature, only disturbed earth and boot prints. A black van pulled up. The containment bag was loaded inside. Mills watched, numb. "Sir," he said finally, "my radio went dead earlier. Static interference. Any idea what could cause that?" The man glanced at him, then at the device still clicking faintly in his hand. "Electromagnetic disturbance happens after events like this." "Events like this," Mills repeated, but the man didn't elaborate. He simply turned and walked back toward the van. Within minutes, the convoy began to pull out, engines low and steady. As the last vehicle passed, one of the gray-suited men handed Mills a clipboard. "Sign this," he said. "What is it?" "Incident confidentiality acknowledgement." Mills scanned it. Most of the text was blacked out. He hesitated. "You're kidding, right? I'm supposed to sign something I can't even read?" The man didn't blink. Orders from command. Mills stared at him for a long moment, then signed. The man took the clipboard back, nodded once, and climbed into the truck. When the lights faded and the forest fell dark again, Mills found himself alone. He stood there for a long time, staring at the empty clearing. The only sound was the wind returning, whispering through the branches. His radio crackled faintly again, the dispatcher's voice distant and distorted. "Echo 2-1, status check." He pressed the transmit button slowly. 2-1, he said, voice hollow, scene contained, returning to post. He turned back toward the fence, legs heavy, thoughts buzzing. Every step felt unreal, like walking through a dream. By the time he reached his patrol car, the first hint of dawn was touching the horizon. As he sat behind the wheel, he caught his reflection in the rearview mirror. Pale, eyes wide, jaw clenched. Something inside him whispered that he'd seen more than he should have. and somewhere deep in the forest, beyond the reach of headlights, a faint blue shimmer pulsed once and went dark.